Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Israel Lubogo, and today we are going to continue from where we ended about the themes of justice and mercy. A sample answer for this theme: a very good literature student would argue that the trial scene in The Merchant of Venice serves as the apex of the play's exploration of the themes of justice and mercy. Portia's eloquent speech on the quality of mercy highlights the tension between strict adherence to the law and the exercise of compassion. While the legal system demands for enforcement of Sherlock's bond, Portia's interpretation of the law allows for a merciful resolution that saves Antonio's life. However, this resolution raises ethical questions about the manipulation of justice for personal gain and the arbitrary nature of mercy. Ultimately, the play intertwines with audiences to contemplate the balance between the rigidity of the law and necessity of sympathy in achieving true justice. On the themes of love and friendship, a very simple answer can be: a very good literature student would argue that The Merchant of Venice represents an exploration of love and friendship, encompassing both romantic and platonic relationships. The bond between Antonio, for example, Antonio and his friend Bassanio, is characterized by loyalty, sacrifice, and possibility romantic affection, as evidenced by Antonio's willingness to risk his life for Bassanio's happiness. Similarly, the romantic relationship between Bassanio and Portia, contrasted with the deep friendship between Antonio and Bassanio, highlighting the different forms of love and its expressions. Through the relationships, Shakespeare underscores the complicities of human connections and the enduring power of love and friendship in the face of adversity. Now our next themes are appearance versus reality as now number 4. And a simple answer to this can be: a very good literature student would argue that the cascade test in the play The Merchant of Venice serves as a metaphor in the theme of appearance versus reality. Here, the choices made by the characters reflect their true values and their intentions. Well, for example, Bassanio's selection of the lead casket, symbolizing his recognition of inner worth over external appearances. Additionally, the use of disguises by characters like Portia and Nerissa underscores the theme of deception and illusion. These instances of appearances versus reality challenge the audience to look beyond surface appearances and consider the deeper truths that lie beneath. Character-based questions, starting with the character Sherlock. Here, a simple answer about Sherlock can be: a very good literature student would argue that Sherlock's character in The Merchant of Venice defies easy categorization as either a villain or a victim. While Sherlock faces discrimination and treatment from the Christian characters, his single-minded pursuit of vengeance throughout the bond of Antonio complicates sympathy for him. Shakespeare humanizes Sherlock through his famous speech on the common humanity between Jews and Christians, forcing the audience to confront the injustice of his persecution. However, Sherlock's demand for a pound of flesh reflects a darker aspect of his character, suggesting the capacity for cruelty born out of years of oppression. Our second character is Antonio, and here, a very good literature student would argue that Antonio's character in the play The Merchant of Venice is characterized by his deep loyalty, his deep sacrifice for his friendship for Bassanio. At the beginning of the play, hints at the deeper emotional complicity, possibly stemming from unspoken romantic affection for Bassanio. Antonio's willingness to sign the bond with Sherlock out of love for Bassanio underscores the context of his devotion, while also raising questions about the nature of the relationship. Through Antonio's character, Shakespeare explores the themes of friendship, sacrifice, and the complicities of the human emotion. For our third character, we'll discuss about Portia. And here, a sample answer about Portia can be stated as: a very good literature student would argue that Portia's character in A Merchant of Venice challenges traditional gender roles and expectations. Her intelligence, wit, and agency are evident in her handling of the casket test and the trial scene, where she assumes a male disguise to assert her authority. Portia's speech on mercy and her strategic legal arguments showcase her ability to navigate the constraint placed upon her by her father's will and also societal norms. Through Portia's character, here Sherlock presents a powerful and assertive woman who defies the limitations imposed on her by her gender. For our number 4th character is Jessica. And here a sample answer to Jessica can be: a very good literature student would argue that Jessica's character in The Merchant of Venice embodies the themes of rebellion, identity, and cultural assimilation. Her elopement with Lorenzo and conversion to Christianity signify a rejection of her father as well as her Jewish heritage, raising questions about loyalty and cultural identity. However, Jessica's theft of Sherlock's wealth complicates sympathy for her character, suggesting a moral ambiguity and the willingness to betray her family for personal gain. And through Jessica's character, Shakespeare explores the complexities of familiar relationships and the divisions between individual autonomy and cultural upbringing. And literary device-based questions can be answered this way, starting with our number 1 being symbolism. Here, a very good literature student would argue that the 3 caskets in the Merchant of Venice serve as powerful symbols that reflect the theme of appearance versus reality. The gold, silver, and lead caskets represent different values and qualities, while Bassanio's choice of the lead casket symbolizes his recognition of inner worth over external appearances. Additionally, the pound of flesh serves as a potent symbol of the human cost of rigid adherence to the law, highlighting the play's exploration of the themes of justice and the theme of also mercy. Our number 2 is irony. Here, a very good literature student would argue that irony permeates The Merchant of Venice, enriching its narrative complicity and thematic depth. In the trial scene, for example, dramatic irony is particularly pronounced as the audience is aware of Portia's true identity, while the characters remain ignorant. This irony creates tension and suspense, underscoring the theme of justice versus mercy, as Portia manipulates the situation to achieve a desired outcome. Situational and verbal irony are also abound through the play, adding layers of meaning and complicating the audience's understanding of the characters' motivations and actions. Through irony, however, Shakespeare invites readers to critically engage with the moral dilemmas and ethical complicities that are presented in the play The Merchant of Venice. Context-based questions, starting with historical and social context. Here, a very good literature student would argue that understanding the historical context of anti-Semitism in England by that time is essential for interpreting The Merchant of Venice. In Shakespeare's time, for example, Jews faced widespread discrimination and were often depicted as villains or outsiders. Here, Sherlock's character conflicts these societal attitudes, embodying the suffering and persecution presented by the Jewish community and experienced by it. By exploring the theme of anti-Semitism, Shakespeare engages with contemporary debates about religious tolerance and cultural identity, prompting audiences to reflect on the consequences of prejudice and the consequences of discrimination. Number 2 is gender roles. Here, a very good literature student would argue that The Merchant of Venice challenges traditional gender roles as well as expectations, particularly through the character of Portia. For example, Portia's intelligence and urgency and assertiveness defy the limitations imposed on her by her gender as a woman, as seen in her handling of the casket test as well as the trial scene. By assuming a male disguise, Portia subverts societal norms and asserts her authority in a male-dominated world. Shakespeare's portrayal of Portia invites audiences to reconsider conventional notions of femininity power, as well as highlighting the potential for women to exert influence and agency even within patriarchal societies. For example, by the time of the Elizabethan era, as seen in the play. Essay questions is our next subtopic, and starting with complex characters and moral ambiguity, a simple answer from a very good literature student would argue that the Merchant of Venice is characterized by its complex characters and moral ambiguity, challenging audiences to grapple with ethical dilemmas and conflicting motivations. Sherlock, for instance, defies easy categorization as either a villain or a victim, embodying the complexities of human nature and the consequences of systematic oppression. Similarly, Portia's actions in the trial scene raise questions about the nature of justice and the manipulation of legal systems for personal gain. Through its noticed characters and moral dilemmas, Shakespeare's play encourages readers to critically engage with issues of prejudice as well as justice versus mercy. Our number 2 are ethical and legal dilemmas. Here, a very good literature student would argue that the Merchant of Venice presents a rich tapestry of ethical and legal dilemmas, inviting audiences to contemplate the complexities of human behavior and societal norms. The trial scene, in particular, serves as a focal point for these dilemmas, as characters grapple with questions of justice, mercy, and personal responsibility. Portia's manipulation, on the other hand of the law, represents profound ethical questions about the nature of justice and the limitations of mercy, challenging audiences to consider the implications of legal and moral decision-making. And therefore, through this exploration of ethical and legal dilemmas, Shakespeare's play prompts readers to reflect on their own values and beliefs, inviting a deeper engagement with the complexities of the human nature. And therefore, by providing well-reasoned and insightful responses to these questions, here a very good literature student demonstrates comprehensive understanding of the play The Merchant of Venice, and therefore its thematic and character-based as well as contextual intricacies. I thank you for working with me throughout this discussion and for diving with me as we discussed about the Merchant of Venice. I remain Israel Lubogo, and may God bless you. I shall take my leave.